Hello, beautiful souls. I'm glad you're here. Let's have a conversation. There's something about healing that no one really prepares you for. We expect it to feel relieving, clarifying, like things finally start making sense. But for many people, healing doesn't feel better at first. It feels messier, more emotional, more confusing, and sometimes even more painful than before. And that can make you wonder if you're regressing, if you're doing something wrong, and feeling like opening things up was a mistake. But often, what feels like things falling apart is actually things becoming visible. For a long time, survival keeps things contained. Your nervous system learns how to compartmentalize. Your mind learns how to move forward without fully feeling. And your body learns how to carry what hasn't been processed. Healing disrupts that containment. It loosens what's been held together by effort, habit, and adaptation. And when that happens, emotions don't come out neatly or in order. They come out layered and tangled. They come out attached to memories, sensations, and reactions you didn't expect. This is why healing often feels messier before it feels better. Not because you're breaking, but because you're no longer suppressing. Another reason healing feels messy is because awareness arrives before relief. You start noticing patterns you didn't see before, emotional triggers that used to fly under the radar, and you notice the ways you abandon yourself, overextend, or go quiet to keep the peace. Awareness can feel heavy at first because once you see something, you can't unsee it, and you're left sitting with the truth before you know what to do with it. The in between space can feel uncomfortable, exposing, unsteady, but it's also a sign that your system is becoming more honest with you. Healing also stirs grief, even when you don't expect it. Grief for versions of yourself that survived in ways that were necessary at the time. Grief for relationships that were built around who you had to be, not who you are. And grief for how long you carried things alone. And grief doesn't always announce itself as sadness. Sometimes it shows up as irritability, fatigue, emotional sensitivity, or a desire to pull back. That doesn't mean healing is failing. It means something meaningful is being released. There's also a subconscious layer to this. When old narratives start dissolving, beliefs about who you had to be to stay safe, loved, or accepted, your system doesn't immediately know what replaces them. So there can be a period of disorientation because you're no longer operating from the old scripts, but the new ones haven't fully landed. That space can feel messy, unstructured, unfamiliar. And humans don't love unfamiliar, even when it's healthier. This is where fear and resistance often sneak in, disguised as logic. You might tell yourself you were doing fine before, that you're overanalyzing, that this is unnecessary. But what's really happening is your system is adjusting to a new way of being. Healing isn't linear. It doesn't move in straight lines or predictable phases. It moves in waves, layers, and returns. You may revisit emotions you thought you'd already worked through, not because you failed, but because you're meeting them from a different level of awareness. That's progress, even when it doesn't feel like it. If your healing feels messy right now, it doesn't mean you're behind. It often means you're closer to the truth than you've ever been, closer to responding instead of reacting, closer to choosing differently, and closer to understanding yourself with compassion instead of judgment. And I want to say this gently. You don't need to rush the mess. Healing doesn't require you to clean everything up before you're allowed peace. Sometimes peace begins by letting things be seen exactly as they are. Conversations like this help make sense of what's happening beneath the surface. If you'd like to continue the conversation, Please subscribe. Healing doesn't get easier because it disappears. It gets easier because you become more resourced, more aware, and more anchored within yourself. And eventually, quietly, what once felt messy begins to feel integrated, not perfect, but honest and grounded. I'm glad you're here.